Be sure to pick up your limited edition St. Louis Rampardos t-shirts today. Available as V-neck, a number of different colors, and male and female. Check them out in the description below. Good evening, YouTube. My name is Dan, and I'm the coach of your St. Louis Rampardos. The St. Louis Rampardos have kicked off the UCL with a 10-1 record. Incredibly impressive, and I hope to continue that trend as we continue to dominate the UCL with Pokemon like Mega Metagross, who has been the star of our team. Now, I do have to take a minute here to thank you guys for your continued supporting the St. Louis Rampardos, and if you have not yet done so, the St. Louis Rampardos t-shirts are now available on the link down below in the description. Be sure to check them out. They will be available for a limited time with a limited edition special patch that goes in the sleeve, and then they will continue to be sold after that. So if you want to pick up a limited edition shirt, be sure to check that out in the description below, and you can support your favorite team and the best team in the UCL. So, jumping right into things here, after a nice win last week over Leo, picking up a nice 5-0 with Mega Metagross putting in the finest of work, we are about to take on the Tulsa Talonflames and Kristen, who has done quite a bit of interesting plays this entire season, having a couple really tough losses, picking up a nice win streak, and then going on a little bit of a couple losses as well since then. So she's on a little bit of a slide, and as the Rampardos coach, we want to continue our momentum forward and make our push to the playoffs. We do have a chance to actually pretty much clinch a playoff berth here pretty soon with a win this week and a loss with some other people, so we're really kind of edging on that, and we're hoping to go 14-1 now as the season progresses. So looking at Kristen's team, she's got a very powerful team, and actually, in my opinion, probably one of the best drafts in general. And I do apologize if you hear a little puppy crying. The St. Louis Rampardos have adopted a nice little puppy named Lilypup, and she's not a big fan of the recordings just yet, so bear with me on that. But anyway, so Kristen's team is one of the most impressive teams in terms of a draft, in my opinion. She's got a very impressive lineup featuring Pokemon like Latias, which is a top-tier OU threat, Ferrothorn and Heatran to rat out our OUs. She's got Mega Houndoom, which is kind of a bit of a problem, rocking, Dark and Fire-type stab. Not to mention other things, Seismitoad she's used quite well. Dust Noir, which can be a pretty tough wall to take down if you don't have the right threats. And one of her biggest threats is Salamence, which has continuously used Dragon Dance and Moxie to sweep other teams, so we're going to really have to keep an eye out on that. Not to mention Galvantula, which does have the threat of Sticky Web, which you always have to prepare for. We actually are bringing a Pokemon this week just because of that. We have to. Jellicent and Virizion round out the RU picks. Jellicent is a pretty good wall as well. I don't expect Jellicent and Seismitoad to be brought on the same team, but Jellicent can be a problem with Will-O-Wisp and things like that. Also, Virizion, like I said, that thing has a chance to Swords Dance up, and so on and so forth. Leopard and Muck round out the order. Muck is a pretty good defensive Poison-type Pokemon, whereas Leopard is a very fast Prankster user, Thunder Wave, things like that. So we do have to keep an eye out on that Leopard as well, and kind of manage our threats appropriately. So kicking off our team, let's just jump right into it here. I think we've prepared the proper team for this, and I'm very excited to have them come out here, and hopefully we'll be able to put in the work that we need to do. The Pokemon that we're leading with has 26 kills in the UCL and is in certain position to make a running on the MVP this season for the Rampardos, and that is Z-Drive, our Mega Metagross. Now this week we're running a Jolly Nature, Max Attack, Max Speed, which allows us to Speed Tie with a Max Speed Timid Latias, and we also have the Ice Punch for the Dragons. That's going to be Ice Punch for Salamence, Latias, and so on. We've got Pursuit there as well to potentially Pursuit Trap the Latias, depending on its spread. It's going to do a max of probably around 80%, so after Rocks, maybe a Life Orb, we should be able to actually knock that thing out with a Pursuit, and that could be really good because Latias is one of the bigger threats in the team. Hammer Arm is there for Ferrothorn and Heatran, and while I don't want that -1 speed, it does a tremendous amount of damage to both Ferrothorn and Heatran, so after a little, I'll obviously still outspeed the Ferrothorn, and it'll destroy the Heatran, so feel pretty good about that. And then Zen Headbutt's there as well for just general coverage, hit things like Seismitoad relatively hard. I opted not to go with Grass Knot because Kristen has been known to run Assault Vest Seismitoad, and I don't want to get lured into a false sense of security by going for Grass Knot, it having Assault Vest or a Rindo Berry, and then me dying to EQ, because that would be a little bit reckless. I toyed with running Substitute, but I really wanted to run Pursuit for the Latias. I feel like that'll be good. Once Latias is down, if I can eliminate the Salamence as well, I'll be in pretty good shape, and I feel like we'll be able to take the W. So, the next Pokemon we're going to be bringing is going to be our Conkeldurr Hercules, who has done quite a good job this season. It's a great Pokemon for status absorption. Running the Guts this week again. Assault Vest, Max Attack, Max Special Defense to maximize our Assault Vest. We're going to be carrying the Drain Punch, the Knockoff, the Ice Punch, and the Mach Punch. Pretty standard, but this Conkeldurr gives a really good check to both Heatran and Ferrothorn. We can knock off on the Latias. We can Ice Punch the Salamence and take a hit. We can obviously stand in front of that Galvantula. We can take hits from the Houndoom as well and go for a Drain Punch to get our health back. So there's a lot of opportunities. I think Conkeldurr is definitely the star of this week on paper, and I think it has the best matchup. Once Latias is gone, I think it can pretty freely just destroy House. It even matches up decently against the Galvantula as well. So I look for Conkeldurr to do really big things this week, and I'm excited to have it on the team. I think, drafting it was a little bit iffy at times, but I think this week is where it could really shine. The next Pokemon we're bringing is another Pokemon that I think is going to put a lot of offensive pressure on Chris, and that is going to be our Hydreigon, Hail Miguel. Now, Hydreigon has started off the season really, really well, and it's tapered off a little bit as Metagross has kind of stolen the show, but this could be the opportunity for Hydreigon to really kick it up and pick up 3-4 kills this week, carrying Draco Meteor, Dark Pulse, Flamethrower, and Earthquake, which provides excellent coverage for our entire team. We are running a Mild Nature Hydreigon, which is going to boost our special attack and not hinder our attack. It's going to just hinder our defenses instead. We've got enough speed in there to outspeed, a standard Heatran. If it was a kind of a little speedy Heatran, we're going to outspeed that, and we'll outspeed some of her slower things as well. This is designed to be a wall breaker and just to decimate her potential walls on her team. She doesn't really have a reliable switch into a Draco Meteor without any fairy types on that team, so I really look forward to this Hydreigon doing a lot of work, and the fact that it is a Life Orb allows us to switch up moves if we need to, kind of hindering her ability to switch between her Pokemon. She does have a couple things that do outspeed Hydreigon, but I do think I have the proper checks for that. I know I could take on, Galvantula's not going to want to switch in. I could take on, everything barring Latias, Galvantula, and Salamence, and maybe the Virizion. Everything else I can pretty much handle pretty easily with Hydreigon, so it handles a lot of her potential team, especially the slower stuff. The next Pokemon we're going to be bringing, as I mentioned earlier, we needed to bring this Pokemon because of the Galvantula, which sounds kind of funny, but I have to bring Crobat with Defog. Crobat, Edward has actually done a tremendous job this season, picking up a lot of kills with Brave Bird, U-Turn, providing momentum, and just doing a lot of different things, and I think Crobat can do a lot this week as well, providing us with a Pokemon faster than her Mega Houndoom, just enough speed to outpace Mega Houndoom at max speed. I've also got, fully attack investment, a little bit of HP as well. We're rocking the Defog, as mentioned before, U-Turn and Brave Bird, pretty standard. And lastly, Tailwind, which is going to be able to give our Hydreigon a pretty nice speed boost, and I think at that point, Hydreigon can pretty much clean house. So I went for Tailwind over Roost because I don't really look at Crobat as being a wall in this scenario. It's there as a backup in case sticky webs do get set up, and I need something to kind of mitigate that and get rid of those. Rocks are a priority as always because of that Salamence specifically and just wearing down some of her walls, but the real priority for me is to keep sticky web off the field, as I think that's going to be very essential for us to be able to come out with a W. The next Pokemon we're bringing this week is returning again. It is Cyborg, who has done a pretty decent job this season catching opponents off guard, and I really look for Cyborg to put in some work this week. I decided to get a little bit fancy. We're actually carrying a Rindo Berry, which I happened to mention earlier, which does reduce the super effective grass type move, which might seem a little bit weird. Why am I focusing on a Rindo Berry when she doesn't really have any grass types aside from Virizion? Well, the logic behind that is Galvantula doesn't have anything typically to touch something like Golurk except for Energy Ball. And if she does carry the Energy Ball, which is a possibility, I'll be able to sponge that up pretty well and be able to take more hits and be able to dish out a nice EQ or, get at my rocks or Ice Punch or whatever it may be. We have the Iron Fist, so we're able to hit pretty hard. I have yet to bring the No Guard Dynamic Punch Golurk. That might be something we bring in the future, but for this week I went with the Iron Fist just to get the max damage. Obviously, Fire Punch is going to hit that Ferrothorn incredibly hard. We've got the Ice Punch as well, which is going to hit those dragons, including Salamence and Latias. And then lastly, we have the Earthquake, which is going to hit Houndoom and just generally everything else really hard. So I look for Golurk to actually do a decent amount of work this week. I hope it fits in nicely as a niche player, getting up those rocks. Probably not early game. I'm probably not going to focus on rocks early game. Probably focus on rocks mid game. If she brings that Galvantula, it's really going to depend on that Pokemon. It's such an interesting Pokemon because Galvantula really changes the dynamic of your preparation because you need to prepare for it so much just because of sticky webs. And last but not least, Mickey running for one of the best defensive Pokemon in the UCL this season, and something I've never really used extensively until now, and that is going to be our Oxygen, which is our Vaporeon. Now, Vaporeon has done a phenomenal job countering a lot of big offensive threats all the way across the board this entire season, and actually picking up a bunch of kills as well. And I look for Vaporeon to do a lot of work this week, being our dedicated physical wall to kind of handle things like the Latias, the Salamence. I've also got Toxic on there for the Seismitoad in case she brings that and has the water absorb to kind of absorb those Scalds. I do have the Toxic. I'm also carrying Wish to recover myself. So Scald, Ice Beam, Toxic, and Wish is going to round out our lineup. Unfortunately, no Heal Bell this week. I felt like the Ice Beam and the Scald were necessary. The Scald is always nice for burns on things like Dust Noir, maybe even a Liepard switch in, a Muck. You could cripple the Muck with that. And, typically, Scald is, with the stab, it's just such a hard-hitting Pokemon just naturally. And she's, Vaporeon's got such good natural bulk on the HP end and on the special defensive end that you can really invest all your efforts into defense, which is what I'm doing here. I'm able to take a +1 hit, +1 outrage from a Salamence, which is nice. And I can fire back an Ice Beam and obviously kill it. I know I can take hits from the Latias, especially if it's Draco Meteors. It does a Spidef drop. I have the leftovers as well. I'm able to Wish up and kind of get some recovery back and force her to do a couple switches and stuff like that. So I look for Vaporeon to do a lot of work. You'll see for the first time this season we're not bringing Raikou. I didn't like the matchup with Raikou. I think Raikou is a great Pokemon, but I haven't used it to its fullest potential, so I felt like it didn't really fit this week. But I look for Pokemon like Hydreigon and Conkeldurr to do a lot of work. Early game plan is to basically try to mitigate that potential Galvantula from getting up its Sticky Web. If it wants to get him up, that's fine. I'll have to defog them away. I think Conkeldurr would be a really good lead. If she brings the Ferrothorn, I could lead with Conkeldurr and do quite a bit of damage right off the bat. I've also got some potential there as well, leading with Golurk if I want to try to get those rocks up. So, that's going to be it, guys. I'm really excited for this match. I think Kristen has a really, really good team, and she's shown herself to be a pretty good battler throughout this season, so I'm definitely not taking this one lightly. I think, we've got a couple tough weeks ahead of us. We've got the Tulsa Talonflames, we've got Twit, we've got PK Sparks, and then Nappy to wrap out the season. So, each match is continuously as important, if not more important than the last, as we continue to make our playoff push here as the St. Louis Rampardos. So, that is going to be that. I appreciate you guys taking your time to watch this pregame press conference, and hopefully the Rampardos can move to 11-1 after this matchup. My name is Dan. I'll also go by aDrive, and I'm going to get the heck out of here. I will catch you guys later. Peace.